Did you know Variety, the children's charity, is the entertainment charity started by a group of show business people who found an abandoned baby in a theatre way back in 1928. These kind-hearted performers raised so much money to help the lost child that they began helping other children, and Variety, the children's charity, was born. Read the full story and support the entertainers charity that supports kids in need today. Visit variety.org.au. You're listening to the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast with me, Maury Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next comedian.
Shouldn't drink on an empty head, you know that, don't you?
That is the shittiest heckle I have ever heard in my life.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
What's a bucket list?
You have dangerously underprepared yourself for the shit that is about to get real.
This is not the usual School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast. Instead of a comedian, I'm interviewing Andrew Ford, author of Creating a Powerful Brand and one of Australia's top personal branding experts. Why? Because it's comedy festival time across Australia and hundreds, if not thousands of comedians are competing for a limited slice of the audience's wallet. In short, how do you cut through the noise? In this podcast, you'll gain advice on how to move your comedic brand from an unknown to a somebody, quick social media fixes that you can do today, and best of all, get a free copy of Andrew's book, Creating a Powerful Brand, valued at $24.95. And all you need to do is register at www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com/social star. It's that simple. And now, here's the social media guru, Andrew Ford. Good morning, Andrew. How are you?
G'day, Maury. I'm very well. How are you?
Oh, very good. You're in Melbourne today, I believe.
Beautiful sunny Melbourne, looking out over the tennis, which is happening at the Australian Open right now.
Ah, that is correct. That is correct. I have completely forgotten about the tennis because at the moment comedy is also happening. Raw comedy, for those listening to this podcast who may be in one of the heats, may have completed a heat or may have one coming up. I'm sure they're not even thinking of the tennis. They're thinking of standing up on stage and hopefully making it to the semis of Raw comedy.
Yeah.
Andrew, thank you for your time. Those who are listening to this podcast are thinking, Andrew Ford, where have I seen him in the stand-up comedy world?
Nowhere.
And you're not a stand-up comedian, are you?
No, you would have seen me nowhere.
No, that's correct. So maybe I'll just explain to our listeners why you're on the other end of this phone call, and that's because you're an expert in personal branding. And, well, we're moving into the festivals. Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne all have comedy festivals or fringe festivals. And personal branding is very important at this point in time because there's a lot of competition out there. A lot of competition for bums on seats to get those audience members to pay money and see your show so you can, have a return on investment, and also, getting interviewed, getting in the media, social media or print media. So thank you, Andrew, for being here and sharing your years of experience in helping celebrities and pre-celebrities build their personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting world of comedy. It's very similar to any business, really, when you're selling your expertise and you need to stand out. And of course, a lot of it comes down to digital now. So,
Yes.
A lot of what we'll talk about today is about how do you get online and to make that work for you without taking up all your time, right? Because you want to focus on writing jokes, not writing your Facebook profile.
No, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Well, let me tell the audience a little bit about you, and you can fill any gaps that I miss. So you've worked in corporate world. You've also, your family owned a small business as well. So you've seen two sides of the space, branding for large businesses, but also branding for yourself. Your branding agency has been around for about 5 years. And notably, you personally have a very strong brand within the personal branding space. You have over 63,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, I've been doing digital marketing and branding since pretty much the start of it all. So for 15 years, I've been in that space. My first campaign was in MySpace before Facebook was around.
Yeah,
and so I got on the bandwagon quite early in LinkedIn, Facebook, and also Twitter.
Right.
So I built up to 100,000 Twitter followers.
Wow.
At the peak, and that was when I was really focusing on Twitter. It was a really prime medium for me. But as other mediums took over and I started my own business, LinkedIn became the real generator of revenue and connections.
Yep.
And Twitter's a great product, but it's not as compatible with my business today. But we still use it a lot for clients, depending on their circumstance. Great for media, great for celebrities.
Yeah, yeah.
So for those clients, we use it extensively. Yeah.
Well, I've noticed that in particular, comparing Twitter with Instagram, if a comedian is, say, 40 years and older, roughly, or maybe 35 years and older, they definitely have a Twitter account. If they're younger than 35, they may not have a Twitter account, just Instagram.
Absolutely, and look, the way we look at it is, because people ask me all the time. I was at a social selling forum doing a presentation, and someone from the audience said, it's so busy on social media today. How do you possibly cut through? And I said to him, it's not about the medium. Mm-hmm. So whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram, it's actually more about the message.
Yep.
So the message, the content, the brand that you put forward is the thing that will cut through and be the difference, regardless of the medium. The medium is really to access a certain target market. So depending on where you want to sell your services, so do you want to do comedy for corporates? Do you do comedy at pubs? Do you want to do comedy at guys' nights? Yep. Or do you want to do comedy at, wherever it is internationally? Then we choose the medium that will suit that target market and give you the most reach. But without a good message, it all falls short, because, people tell me all the time, I did this campaign on Facebook, didn't work. Facebook doesn't work. Facebook does work. It works for some people if you put all the things together correctly. And that's where they forget about the branding elements, because all of these things in social media are really only an opportunity to put your message in front of somebody, and it's the start of an engagement. It's not the end. It's the very start. If you don't have all the rest of the construct of websites and sales processes aligned, you still won't get the business. Yep. You just get well known, but you'll be poor, and we don't want that, right? We want people to be able to generate, a professional living out of their comedy business, and to do that, we need to take a professional business approach to what they're doing.
Yep, absolutely, agree. Well, some people may have a short-term goal to get famous enough that an agency like Token or A-List or one of the group Mushroom Comedy picks them up and then takes all the responsibility of marketing away from them, because I know many comedians, and the word sales and administration and marketing are terrifying. Yeah. But for those that do their own management of their own personal brand in comedy, then this is definitely a long-term plan. Let's go back a step and let's talk about what you've done for other people. Now, not necessarily comedians, but celebrities. Are you able to name drop a couple people?
Yeah, look, when I first started this business, I was working in corporate, and I started it part-time because people kept asking me for advice. So my first client who I worked with actually was Nick Brax. I don't know if you know Nick Brax. He's a model / son of former Premier.
There we go. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that was that, he came up to me, and at the time he was known as, son of former Premier and, drunk driving and a whole bunch of bad things. Oh. And I was at a party where we were launching a DJ, believe it or not, and Andy Murphy, for those who are in the DJ space. And it's interesting how I got into that is that people knew me as a digital marketing person. They knew me as good at this space. And so, I used to run all of these sort of events for people and get people there. Yep. Anyway, so Nick Brax said to me, when you Google my name, he said, Andrew, you don't know me, but I know who you are, and I hear you're good at this digital stuff. And when you Google my name, all this bad stuff comes up. Is there anything you do about that? And I'm like, yeah, there is. There's lots of stuff you can do about it. And so we started that conversation, and we started building his assets. Now, when I say assets, that's a line that would appear in Google, a Facebook page, a Twitter account, an Instagram account, a website, an article, a video, etc. And the only way to push, the bad content out onto page 2 where they hide the dead bodies is to fill page 1 with great content, right? Yep. So we had to go and create these assets. And I realized that, that everybody needs this stuff. Yep. Everybody can control what Google says about them and manage their brand rather than have it just be sporadic, whatever Google wants to spit out. Yep. And that was really the birth of personal branding. And this was already sort of happening in the UK and the US, but not really in Australia at the time. It was like 7 years ago. Right. I started working with people like Grant Smiley, who's a big DJ in Australia, and he introduced me, to a whole bunch of different celebrities who we worked with. But the interesting thing about it, he said to me something that was really compelling. He said that a DJ, the amount they get paid is directly commensurate to their social media following. So, for instance, if they had 10,000 Twitter followers, they'd get paid, I don't know, $1,000 a gig. If they had 100,000 Twitter followers, they'd get paid $10,000 a gig.
Okay.
It's directly commensurate. Because how do you measure the value of a DJ?
Yeah, no.
How do you measure the popularity of a comedian and what they should get paid? By how many people follow them.
That's right.
So I use this analogy in a lot of my workshops, and I say to people, so if you're walking down the street and you're hungry and you want to go to a restaurant, and there's two restaurants. On one side of the street, there's a restaurant that's empty. There's no one in there. On the other side of the street, there's a restaurant which has got a huge queue out the front. What would you do? And most people join the queue, right? So because people don't buy what's available, people buy what everyone else has, what everyone else wants. So you need to be in demand to be paid well for your services. And being in demand, the way we see that is by having a strong following. And so what we do is we create the assets, so the building blocks, so the Facebook page, the Twitter account, the website, all those sort of things for people, and then we help them build their following so that they are in demand, they seem in demand, and then therefore it's like a snowball. It keeps rolling. The more Twitter followers you get, the more Twitter followers you'll get. It's a really interesting scenario. So we get them kick-started and we get them rolling, and then over time they become more popular and they have a greater network reach and they earn more money.
There's certainly these days, someone like Troy Kinney, who has a channel, I think it's called Kinney, Kinne. It's a TV show, and I think he's putting out a lot of videos out with, I see a lot of familiar faces in the video, so I'm assuming mostly his friends and other comics, but he's got a massive following, and he's really, the comedians that know him tell me he is very hardworking, particularly in that social media space, in this case with video. I also did interview Simon Taylor, who is well-known comedian, and started his sort of comedy on Twitter way back, and was writing when the limitation was 146 characters, and that actually got him a job in the US, writing for a TV show in the US, comedy show. And his Twitter following massive. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, perhaps less LinkedIn these days, but for comedians, and Instagram.
It depends on if you want to go corporate market or not. So LinkedIn's the corporate market, but you've got to think about this: is that the people who own venues, the people who like yourself. I mean, you're a big LinkedIn user. Because that's your corporate angle, And so if you want to get that type of work, then that's where those people live, But the fans are on the other social mediums, they're on the business. I mean, they are there, but they use the other ones more reliably. But the thing is, you think about someone who puts out a YouTube video. So the way we do it is, this is the message. So what's the message? What are you about? What's your angle? What's your comedy about? So you might make a video, but what do? Well, you post it. You upload it on YouTube, and then you post that on your Twitter account, and then you post it on your Facebook page, and then you put it on your LinkedIn profile. So it's not a question of one or the other. It's about how do you produce good quality content and get it out there in enough volume to create the market for yourself. And that's a challenge, and that's where we help people in smart ways to automate their content. And there's many different ways to do it. You don't have to create videos. That's the hardest form. You can do the written word, like you said. Your friend did the tweet. You can do it. There's lots of different ways. Audio, podcasting, as we're doing now. So there's many different ways to do it, depending on your skills, resources, and talents. So we work through, because most people don't know what to do, and so they don't do anything. So we help them with their strategy. We give them a plan, and then we help them to start to execute it. It's inefficient for you to learn how to build a car just because you want to drive it. So we build it for you, and then we teach you how to drive it. It's much more efficient.
On that note, I listened to a podcast that you were talking about your products and how originally you helped people build up a platform and then left it in their hands, to which they didn't do anything with it, and it kind of fell apart
Yeah.
in their hands. But you actually take control. You build the brand, you build the systems, and then you can actually take control.
Yeah, correct. And I wouldn't say it fell apart, but what happened is that they just didn't take full advantage.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're trying to get fit and you do a Michelle Bridges 12-week program, and then after the 12-week program you just go back to your old habits. In a year's time you're back to normal, right?
Yeah,
So kind of what's the point? And so what we did is we did the same thing. We would build your profile and you'd look much better and you'd have great assets, but you've got to sweat the assets. You've got to use it. If I sell you an exercise bike, you're not going to be fit just by owning it. You've got to ride it.
Yeah.
So we now teach people how to ride it, and we actually help them and coach them through that process. And that was kind of the missing link for us to get our clients more successful because, really, do they want a strong brand? Well, not really. They want lots of gigs.
Yeah, that's true.
And so, but we know that the vehicle to get there is to have a strong brand. And you've got to maintain it. And it takes work. And one thing you said before is, if you can get big enough to get an agent, they'll do it all and you outsource it. I don't think you can ever really outsource everything to somebody else. If you do, you're at risk of them going, oh, well, we're not going to take you on anymore, or we don't have any gigs for you. You've got no control.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Gary Vee, or the other personal branding sort of gurus, if you like, they all say you have to understand how this stuff works. You've got to have the knowledge, the base knowledge of how to get your message out to the market, because it's the most important resource you have. It's great to have, if you've got huge talent and great jokes, that's amazing. But if no one can hear it, then it doesn't matter.
No, that's right. That's right. So I believe you have a program, and it's launched in 12 weeks, and it's composed of 3 parts. Would you better run through what those are?
Yeah, sure. So the first part is understanding what your brand is. So most people don't have a clear articulation of what they're about and what their value proposition is. And I call it a pitch. So most people haven't gone through the process of really unpacking, why they're different. And so we go through the first full day of the workshop to understand that. We've got an e-learning course that people do some pre-work for. Once we understand what your brand is and we've articulated, what your goals and objectives are. So, I want to be international, I want to be local, I want to, have 6 gigs a week, I want to have 2 gigs a week, I want to, it depends on what your goals are. Then the next part is we go and build that.
Yep.
So we help you build your website, your social media platforms, and understanding how to do them correctly, understanding how to position yourself according to what we did in step 1. So that's the second day. And the third day is learning how to operate and drive your brand so that you can get more business. Now, when I call it sales, some people think sales is a dirty word, but if someone calls you and says, I'd love you to play at our next gig, that is sales. And that's what we want to achieve, is that people come to you instead of you have to go out to them.
Yeah.
And the way they find you and they get to is that you share great content and then they want to contact you. And so it's the process of production, and we need to understand how much content you want to do, how often, what's the medium, how are you going to record it, how are you going to automate the process. And we have lots of tips and tricks to assist you doing it to suit your lifestyle.
Yeah, right.
Because I know that a lot of people listening are not going to be full-time comedians. Even the full-time comedians that I do know actually have gigs on the side doing jobs. And so we know that time is the enemy here. And so, we're very good at coming up with strategies that aren't, hugely time-consuming, using outsourcing or using automation tools.
Yep.
Because we're realistic, we if the goal is to earn, $50,000, $100,000 from comedy, we will construct a plan to make that. If you want to do it full time, we can construct a plan for that as well.
Yep. A quick question on you talk about building websites. Now, when I speak to comedians and I ask them at the end of the interview, how can people get in contact with you? Some do have websites. Not many. A lot of them just have Facebook. So they've got a Facebook page, Peter Smith, comedian, and that will be a page, an official corporate page. Is that good enough today, or should you have a website?
No, it's not good enough. So let me ask you this. Do you own Facebook?
I do not, no.
So if Facebook decided to change, the way they work and delete your page or change the way your page works, do you have any control whatsoever?
No, not at all.
No. So they've changed the algorithm many times. They change it regularly. And so now if you have a page on Facebook and say you've worked really hard and you've got 10,000 followers.
Yep.
If you do a post on Facebook, it reaches less than 5% of those people.
Oh, right. Why is that?
Because Facebook wants you to pay for that right. So,
yes.
because they own it and you don't, and they just change the way they work, and so you now have to boost posts and pay money in order to reach the people who you already have on your list.
Yeah, right.
Now,
right.
if you had them on your email list, it would cost you $0 to connect to those people. So you can't control. You don't want to build your house on a rented piece of land, and that's what Facebook is. So what we do is we want to control our database and have our people on our platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So I have them spread across many, I've got them on LinkedIn, I've got them on Twitter, and I've got them on Facebook, but I've also got them on my database, on my email database.
Yep.
So I know that I can reach out to them at different times. So what we do is, so that's point one. The second point is that when you Google somebody's name, the very first thing that will come up is their website.
Yep. Okay.
Their personal website, if they've built it correctly. So if you Google Andrew Ford, what you'll find is andrewford.com.au.
Yep.
Will be the first link. Now, there's another guy with andrewford.net.au, so we compete, but it won't be Facebook.
No.
And if you Google Andrew Ford, what you might find is Facebook comes up somewhere down the list, but it might not be me because I can't control the SEO or the way that Google ranks Facebook.
Right.
I can only control what's on my website. The second thing that will come up for everybody is their LinkedIn profile because LinkedIn gets better SEO than Facebook.
Right.
So, and YouTube will get better SEO than Facebook, and so will Twitter a lot of the time.
Yep,
so
yep.
Facebook is great for people who use Facebook all the time, but the amount of people who are only on Instagram and they're not on Facebook now is huge. Facebook is decreasing in intensity for a lot of people. So it depends. It doesn't mean you don't have it. It's still the biggest social media platform and everybody needs it. However, I wouldn't rely just on that. In fact, one of your people that I was working with, I won't name names, came to me for assistance, and the first thing I said to him is, when you Google your name, I cannot find you. And he goes, oh, yeah, I use a different name for, he's got 3 different Facebook profiles, all with different names, no website, no other social presence.
Yep.
So I can't find him. How do I book him if I can't find him?
That's right. That's right.
But the first rule of branding is be findable. So if someone says, I'd love to book Maury, oh, great, I'll just Google his name and find how I can do that. You Google him, you find him. Then the second thing is you have to look good, and you have to say that, you're an expert at this comedy and this is where you specialize. Because if I'm IBM and I want to book a corporate comedian, and I go on your website and you say you specialize in doing pub gigs, I'm not going to book you.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to understand what your brand is and where you want to go after. So be findable, then have a specific niche that you work in, and then have a way for them to book you. And I would recommend that on your website, they're able to see your calendar.
Yep.
They're able to know your prices. They're able to see, where you're going to be playing. Do you go to Townsville or do you only work in Melbourne, and et cetera, et cetera. And the more information you give, the more likely you are to get a booking.
Yeah, right. No, I agree with that.
And this is the business side of things.
Well, I'll because they don't have a website, I'll contact them via Facebook, and they'll have a Facebook page. These are people. These are comedians that are on TV, and I'll press the send message. I'll send a message inviting them for a podcast or actually some paid work, and I'll get an automated message that says, I don't check this account very often. Someone else might contact you. Yeah. So obviously not good for business, is it?
Well, and look, there's lots of different ways to do it, and this is taking control of your business. If you're serious about running a business and not just doing the occasional gig, you have to be a business person as well as a comedian. I mean, if you look at the most successful...
Well, it's called show business, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at AC/DC, if you look at the Rolling Stones, those bands have had tremendous success because they've got strong business brains behind them. They've got...
Well, AC/DC didn't, and then I think that was the Back in Black album that prior to that they were in the red.
Yeah, but they always had a strong focus on what they were doing, and they knew that, now they're into the merchandising's crazy, and they're a business machine.
Oh yeah, wine.
It's interesting. Like I worked with Francis Leach, who's a sporting commentator and DJ, radio personality, I suppose. I remember from the Triple J days.
Right.
And he got referred to us, and we did some work with him, and we built him a personal website. And he had the same questions: why do I need a personal website, and et cetera, et cetera. And what we said to him is, so where can I see all your great work? Because he's worked for 30 years in the media space. There's nowhere. So he gave us 2 boxes of DAT tapes.
Yeah.
You know, of beta video cassettes from, TV studios. All of this random stuff. I mean, he interviewed famous bands. He's very well known in sort of music sporting space. But people can only pay for value they can see. So we digitized all of his value, built him a website and put it on there. So now people can see who he is.
Yeah, that's right.
And all the cool stuff that he's done. And so it's his record of all the cool stuff. So if I can't see all the gigs you've done and some video and some audio and even just listings of the work you've done, how do I know what you've done?
Exactly, yeah.
You don't. And don't tell me people are going to contact you and ring everyone and ask them for their resume. They're not. They're going to quickly view it online. You've got 10 seconds before they lose interest, and they go on to the next one who does have a website and is easy to contact and will get back to you because they look professional.
Yeah, wise. Well, I guess going back a step to LinkedIn, and you also mentioned that a lot of comedians listening to this are not full-time comedians, so their LinkedIn profile might be of an accountant or working at a bank or something similar. So they can't really touch the LinkedIn until they go professional. But once they go professional, I know people like Richard Stubbs, for example, if you go to his LinkedIn profile, it has it very clearly. He's a comedian, and there's the contact details. So yeah, LinkedIn can work. Depends where you are, I guess, in the career.
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because what I encourage people to do is to put their personal side ventures on their professional LinkedIn profile.
Oh, you do?
Okay. And the reason why, absolutely. And the reason why I say that is that it just makes them more interesting. So for instance, if you're let's say you're an IT consultant and you're also a professional, violin player, that does, plays with an orchestra or something like that. You're an entrepreneur who also does comedy. Yep. What it does is it just frames you slightly differently to every other entrepreneur or every other IT consultant who is out there selling their wares. And just think about this, if someone has additional skills that can be applied to their day job, if you're a lawyer who does comedy, you might not be one of those boring, dusty old lawyers. You might be slightly different. I might actually want to go see you because maybe you're slightly interesting and more fun to be around. It doesn't mean I'm hiring you for your jokes. It means that I'm hiring you for you and your personality. And you're standing out amongst the other lawyers, because I work with accountants all day, lots of accountants. And there's something like 50,000 accountants in Australia. There's like a lot. How do you stand out? Well, you could be the accountant that loves, surfing, and someone who loves surfing as well would resonate with you over somebody else. Yeah, right. Because you've got something to talk about. And this is exactly how we establish rapport. Yeah. I mean, the first time you meet someone for the first time, like, what do? You start talking about your interests. And then if you can find a common interest and you establish rapport, you're far, far more likely to do business with someone that you like and you have rapport with than someone you don't.
I agree. Oh, good. Well, there you go. So, LinkedIn, as long as your boss doesn't have a problem with it, you could stick comedy in there. Yeah. Well, you are very good at creating a powerful brand, and that just happens to be the title of your book that you published. Yeah. So I wrote a book a couple of years ago, basically to cement my thoughts and opinions on branding. Go throughout this 3-step process that we do, and gives you very specific, actionable advice on exactly what to do, particularly around LinkedIn, because it's one of my favorite topics. And, for the listeners out there, happy to give them a free copy of my book. If they go to my website, they can download a PDF, go to the Social Star website, but I'm happy to give them a hardcover book for your particular listeners, Myron. So how would they get that? Perfect. Well, thank you for asking. They will go to www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com/Social Star. Social Star is the name of your business, so we get a double plug in that URL. So I'll say that again. It's www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com/Social Social Star, and there will be a form there when you open that page up, and you will see that it will ask you for a few personal details, because obviously it's a physical item. We need to mail this to you. We'll need your phone number to make sure the postie can get to you if there's an issue, and then of course your name and an email address to make sure everything's fine, and maybe get a good solid review on Amazon.com or one of the other book review websites. Yeah, I think that's good. Oh, and I forgot one more thing. You know, it's not free. There's no such thing as a free lunch, Andrew. We know that, right?
Yeah.
So you also need to share your favourite knock-knock joke. Yeah.
Exactly.
The more dad joke it is, the better, but you have to put in a knock-knock joke. Well, we are the school of hard knock-knocks after all, so there you go. No such thing as a free lunch, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, this is the start of your sharing content, right? You know, so provide the content. You might even be good enough to share some of those jokes on your Facebook page there, Murray.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's I should add, this book is worth $24.95. If you were to walk into one of the bookstores or buy online to physically get this book, $24.95. So this is amazing.
So they can look at the reviews on Amazon.com or on Facebook or Google. We're sort of a bit everywhere, and they can read an outline chapter if they like. But really, I mean, if you're interested in building your brand, if you're serious about your comedy career, you don't want it to be a hobby, you want it to be a business. You know, that's exactly what we do. We specialise in what we call corporate escapees, people who want to do something on the side that is their passion, or even make it full time. We love helping those people because, you know, life's too short to live a boring life, and we don't want people stuck in cubicles that they hate,
right.
and always have a dream that they never fulfill. So we're in the business of crowbarring them out of those businesses and getting them into something that is more exciting and fulfilling.
Cool. And corporate, I'll say that again, corporate escapees. Is this a term you came up with, or is it the jargon of the bucket list ticking generation?
Yeah, I've heard it before. I'm not sure where it came from. I've Googled it and I can't find the source. But it just resonates with me because that's how I consider myself. I mean, I got myself out of, you know, very high-paying, successful corporate career to start my own business, which is a tremendous amount of, you know, hard work and, you know, it's tough. Yeah. But it's so rewarding, and you know, and I didn't do it for the bucks. I mean, the bucks are good, but I actually did it to spend more time with my kids.
Yep.
But also to have a career that actually meant something to me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, I help someone build a new business in something they love, and just, you know, the changes to their life that you see in every area of their life. Yeah. Because, you know, if you're happy at work, you're happy at home, you got better relationships, you know, it's what life's about, and so I love coming to work every day. I mean, I started work yesterday after Christmas holidays, and you know, I jumped out of bed at 6 o'clock. I love this stuff, you know, and that's the way people should live. You know, just going to work and doing something you don't enjoy is not part of it. So, you know, if you really love comedy, you know, get stuck into it and keep persisting.
Yeah, fantastic. So I'm just going to do another little reminder about that website, and so you can get that book. So Creating a Powerful Brand by Andrew Ford. All you have to do is go to www.schoolofhardknocknocks.com/social star. Put in your details, and a book, physical book, you know, one of those old things with paper, will arrive on your doorstep in your post box. Yeah, I see people on the tram occasionally, and they've got a book, and I just want to jokingly go up to them and go, "Excuse me, what is that?" Hey, not everyone has the same sense of humour.
Books are still, you can't get rid of them. Although, have you seen someone reading a newspaper on the train lately? I mean, that's the real thing that's dying. But books are just keep on going, and that's there's something about physicalness that's not replaceable. So yeah, I have an e-version. You can get it on, you know, Kindle and all those sorts of things. But there's still something about having a physical book, and in our process we talk about that sort of thing as well.
That is true. That is a good way of being remembered, and once you've walked out the door. Alrighty. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for your time today. I've learnt a lot. Hopefully people will take up that opportunity, learn more about developing their personal brand in comedy, and have a great one.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity, Murray, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Cheers.